Next question, the member for Scarborough-Guildwood.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is for the Minister of Education. Not surprisingly, the numbers of COVID infections in Ontario are exploding. Just yesterday, the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, Aaron O'Toole, and his family were turned away from testing in Ottawa and got tested today in Gatineau. Just as schools are reopening, we know the demand is there. A growing number of TDSB schools have confirmed positive cases in staff, and it is a matter of time before COVID spreads within schools, forcing classrooms and schools to self-isolate. This is why I received an inquiry from a concerned family who can no longer send their children to school in good faith, but are being prevented now from enrolling in virtual learning. If and when there is an outbreak, students will need to stay home from classrooms and continue with online learning. School boards are doing all they can with everything they've got, even draining their contingency funds. Mr. Speaker,
question.
How is the minister going to ensure continuity of education while keeping our students and our communities safe?
Minister of Education to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, it was this government that in the spring, when students were sent home, as the province sent students home because of the pandemic, the first province in the country, it was this government that stood strongly in the defense of live synchronous learning for students. I do not recall a solitary opposition member who stood with parents to insist that the quality and continuity of learning continued during that period. Instead, they were absolutely silent. And that is unacceptable to parents of the province.
Order.
To parents of the province that want to ensure that their child gets access to an educator.
Order.
That their child gets access to the curriculum. It is this government that it.
Order. I'll ask the Minister of Education to wind up his response.
Speaker, it is most regrettable when parents want their child to learn, have access to a teacher, and have a community with their students. We did not have unanimity of purpose in this legislature. There was silence by the members opposite. Today, our government set a 75% standard of live synchronous learning. We've mandated training for all educators. We will continue to expect the very best for all students of this province.
Thank you. And the supplementary question.
Well, Speaker, if we've been silent, you have been MIA, because the boards, the federations, everyone have been asking, where are you, and why isn't there an actual table to deal with the integration of schools? Mr. Speaker, enrollment in Ontario schools classroom learning is down because the Minister of Education has not given families reason to be confident that schools will be safe. Some of the schools with the lowest enrollment are in my riding, and they are also in the poorest neighbourhoods in our city, where school nutrition programs provide invaluable food security to students. Mr. Speaker, there is a myriad of ways in which COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated inequality in our education system. For students who rely on these programs before, food security hasn't improved under the pandemic. In fact, it has gotten worse.
Question.
This government has spent a mere 1% of all of the COVID funding that has been provided federally and provincially on education and childcare. Minister, what is your plan to keep students on the margins safe and providing for the needs that...
Thank you very much. Minister of Education to reply.
Well, thank you, Speaker. Obviously, from an equity lens, Speaker, we're very concerned about exacerbating any gaps within the classroom and for our students, and that's why earlier in this process, Minister Smith announced an additional $1 million for the student nutrition program to ensure the continuity of food programs within our schools. Speaker, in the context of higher-risk communities in Scarborough and Etobicoke and other regions of Toronto, for example, the board, working with public health and the ministry, have imposed caps to reduce the number of children in those classrooms, 15 for kindergarten to 3, and 20 students capped from grade 4 to 8. There are school boards right across the province utilizing provincial funding, hiring hundreds of teachers, in Toronto's case redeploying hundreds of educators to the front lines. We are absolutely committed to working with all school boards. I met with the leadership of Scarborough General Hospital along with my caucus colleagues from Scarborough to speak about the synergies between education and our healthcare capacity to respond in the scenario of outbreak. In each and every area in our investment, Speaker, we lead and we recognize there's more to do, and we'll be there for our students and for our boards.